Basically, Prem Kishore Prabhu requested me considering me qualified because since the past few years I've been hearing Maharaj's lectures and I've been trying to focus, especially since the past 2-3 years, on consciously I was making an effort, not just because Prabhuji told me, but to understand what are some things that Maharaj feels are most valuable for our progress in devotional service. So, and Maharaj's view. So Maharaj is a GBC. So he's a visionary. Like there's devotees who are like most of us. It's like ISKCON DC, ISKCON New Jersey, ISKCON Seattle, and everything like that, right? So Maharaj is type of like a visionary. So he is always looking at the big picture, like Srila Prabhupada. And all the Maharajas, most of them, they're all looking at, because they're in the leading positions, right? So we're all situated in different places, so it just becomes a lot to do our minimum chanting for regulative principles with our busy schedules. So Maharaj feels that this safeguarding is the most important, right? Safeguarding ISKCON as an organization. And especially in his last year Vyas Puja address, 2018, yeah. 2018, because it was celebrated in January. So Maharaj was saying, he was emphasizing, because we were celebrating ISKCON 50. So the 2017 and 18 years were still in the mood of ISKCON 50. And Maharaj was saying that, yes, ISKCON 50, wonderful, and we're celebrating. But now, it's time to look forward to ISKCON 100, right? Because it's not just we have ISKCON now, because Prabhupada said this has to continue. ISKCON has to expand. So Maharaj in that lecture, and it just touched me very much, because Maharaj's condition, even like physical material condition, he was sick. It was January, so cold. And he had a sore throat, cough, he was coughing and his voice was very low. And it sounded like he was crying. And he was saying, please, we have to make leaders out of the young generation that we have now. And if we don't make leaders out of the young generation we have now, we won't have ISKCON. Because the GBC position, without the GBC taking care, there's no ISKCON. And even worse, if there's immature people, immature devotees who take up roles as GBCs, then they'll create havoc. It's going to become nonsense. Like the ISKCON Prabhupada's intention will just is already fading away and will fade away more as the years go by. And then there will be no ISKCON. So Maharaj was saying that, let's say it positively, now, let's say it positively, like what should we do to ensure that ISKCON will be there? So we have to make the leaders out of the young people. So we have to train them, groom them in a way so that they can become leaders in ISKCON for the future, just like all the GBC Maharajas, everyone is now. So Maharaj was saying there's a lot of things you can do for that, kirtan, daily incorporating kirtan into our lives and everything, but japa. But Maharaj was especially stressing that day that it has to be a scrutinized study of Srila Prabhupada's books. Because without the study of Srila Prabhupada's books, we won't know what Srila Prabhupada wanted. Because in Prabhupada's time, you could go to Prabhupada and say, Prabhupada, there's this doubt. So at that time, I was just hearing Maharaj's lecture this morning. It's okay, we have a doubt, go ask Srila Prabhupada, then we get the answer and it's clear. But we don't have that guidance now, so we have Srila Prabhupada's disciples who had direct guidance from Srila Prabhupada. But let's think what's going to happen here. It makes it even more difficult for all of the people who are like me right now, and who are going to be the ones who want to celebrate ISKCON 100, right? So we don't even have connection with Prabhupada's disciples now, right? To ask questions like that directly. But we have to read Srila Prabhupada's books, because the books will stay forever. And Prabhupada didn't put according, like, some things he said according to time, place, circumstance, according to the person. But the things which are don't change, you have to do, are in the books. So Maharaj emphasizes a lot, and not only now, I mean this past year, the two, but always. But especially since I'm focusing, I'm saying it more in these few years, because Maharaj, I can see that Maharaj is literally begging all of us, because when you're in the safeguarding position, there's that pain in the heart that no one understands, but it's urgent, right? So when you're safeguarding something, like suppose when we tell kids, for example, you're going somewhere, you're gonna board a flight, okay? And then the child doesn't care, he doesn't know, he's playing immature, so he doesn't understand the value of that time you have to board the plane, or otherwise the plane's gonna leave. So if the child sits there and says, no, I'm trying to find my toy, and I can't find my toy, you're gonna say, just get out of the house, we're gonna miss our flight, right? So, and the child still won't understand. The child will be like, yes, just let me look for my toy. So that is exactly what is happening with ISKCON Maharaj's, Guru Maharaj, and all of us. He's telling us in a very nice way. But the pain in his heart is a lot. The urgency is there. Because now since we're talking, we can talk. Maharaj can like scream at all of you like. And Maharaj doesn't want to scream, just he wants to make us understand in nice ways. So that books thing, especially the Srimad Bhagavatam, is extremely important, because it's the literary incarnation of Krishna. And I even have the verse here, and I'm not reciting the translation just in my words, because Prabhupada's words are so strong and wonderful. So the verse is Dharma Projita Kaitavotra Paramo Nirmatsaranam Satam Vedyam Vastavamatra Vastu Shivadam Tapatrayon Mulanam Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krute Kim Va Parereshwaraha Sadyo Hridya Varudhyate Trakritivishushru Shivistakshana. So completely rejecting. So these words are really important, because each word, even though it just sounds normal, it means a lot. Completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated, this Bhagavad Puran propounds the highest truth. Propounding is, you know, when in a courtroom, a judge, when they say order, everyone has to be, no talking of. Whoever is doing anything has to stop. It's not reasoning that I'm actually doing this. So propounds the highest truth, which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart. The highest truth is reality distinguished from illusion. In the Chatushloki Bhagavatam, the 4 verses that Krishna first originally explained to Brahma, there's a verse, Ritirtham yat pratiyeta na pratiyeta chatmani tad vidyad atmano mayam yata bhasho yata tamaha. So that means that whatever is there, which isn't about me, just understand it to be false, just like a shadow. It doesn't exist, right? So, is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. Such truth uproots the threefold miseries. This beautiful Bhagavatam, compiled by the great sage Vyasadeva in his maturity, is sufficient in itself for God realization. What is the need of any other scripture? As soon as one attentively and submissively hears the message of Bhagavatam, by this culture of knowledge, the Supreme Lord is established within his heart. So Maharaj, taking that mood of the visionary, he was continued throughout these past two years and all these years. And recently we had, Maharaj focused a lot this year, 2018, on the prayers and teachings of different devotees mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So suppose he did Brahma's prayers and Prahlad Maharaj's teaching and prayers. So recently in CNJ we had the Thanksgiving retreat, and it was teachings of Prahlad Maharaj. And Guru Maharaj says that Prahlad Maharaj is my hero, And Prabhupada said that Prahlad Maharaj should become that example we look up to. Because Prahlad Maharaj is a pure devotee of Krishna. And he's teaching Kaumara Acharet Pragyo Dharman Bhagavataniha Durlabham Manusham Janma Tadapya Dhruvamartadam. The human life is very short, but it's very, very, very valuable. Because you don't get the human birth like, okay, it's just here. It's a very rare gift. And that gift is given because that is meant for a higher purpose. What's the difference between us and animals? The animals eat, sleep, may defend. We eat, sleep, may defend. And Prahlad Maharaj is saying the time is very valuable. So we have to use that higher consciousness, which is the difference between us and animals that Krishna gave us, to progress in our bhakti. And Prahlad Maharaj is saying, save time. You have, and he's giving us, so he's counting in 100%. 100 years. I don't think anyone really lives 100 years these days. 80 years at the max. So let's subtract 8. We can subtract 20, but let's not subtract 20. So 50 years, Prahlad Maharaj says, goes in sleeping. It's wasted. Directly, default is wasted. Because every day, 12 hours, people sleep. Or do, and even if you don't sleep 12 hours, most of people sleep up to 12 hours. And otherwise, you're just doing some nonsense. Right? So, and he said, and the other thing is, the only useful time you have is 50 years. And in those 50 years, right away, 20 years goes to frivolous, childish thinking and playing. So even up to the age of 20, most people are immature. They don't know what to do. They don't have proper jobs. Right? And the next 20 years, it's done. 20, now, not even 20, more. But it's just family life. I'm married and my children, and now my children have to get married. And that's it, earning money. And then after that, you're old. What are you going to do? When you have diseases all over your body and you're visiting doctors and you're unable and you can't think properly, you're having memory loss. What are you going to do at that time? Is that the time you would be doing something this important? So no, when something is important, we make it a first priority. Like education to children is given from the age of 5. And Prahlad Maharaj gives that. Just like education is given from the age of 5. This education, even though it's way more important than this other education, should be given from the age of at least 5. 5 as in from their birth. From the time they're in their mother's womb. For devotees, the mothers should just send them those vibrations of these messages of Srila Prabhupada. So, Prahlad Maharaj's teachings and everything, that's very important to understand the messages of the Bhagavatam. And the next thing that, moving on, Maharaj also was talking about these past 6 months, increasing the purity of our chanting, increasing the taste for the holy name. Because these are foundational principles which we do minimize the value of most of the time. But they're foundational principles. And when the foundation isn't laid well, then you'll go soaring like a rocket goes up and come crash landing again. So it looks really good in the beginning, like I'm progressing in bhakti. And we don't even feel that we're ignoring some important things. We think we're fine. But then when the crash comes, then you don't understand why the crash came. And then you stay down. So Maharaj is indirectly preaching to us from Shastra that these things are the ones that are important. So, and Prabhupada once, Prabhupada's disciple came to Prabhupada and said, Prabhupada, you say it so many times, body, soul, body, soul, body, soul. Like, okay, like we got it, right? And Prabhupada said, yeah, and you still don't understand. Because that's true. We don't understand. Do we really understand that we're not the body? We're the soul? It's just for saying. But most people don't understand, and it's really hard. And it's not it's our fault, but it's just, we're Nityabadha, the Jiva. He's been eternally conditioned. So he's used to the body. It's not like old habits die hard. So you won't leave it like this. But we have to practice in that way, and that's why we have to hear it so many times. So Maharaj was emphasizing more and more. And I was, actually when I was around 6-7 years old, I would feel like, why does Maharaj do so many lectures about chanting? Right? Japa retreats. I had just childish concern, but then I grew out of it understanding that this is so important. That's why, and we never understand. Because the chanting level, the purity has to be really high. And not only that, but then finding shelter in the holy name. Right? And Maharaj was saying, we have to find shelter in the holy name. And finding shelter like Prahlad Maharaj found shelter. So Prahlad Maharaj found shelter not like, I'm scared my dad's trying to kill me, so Krishna save me. That's not the type of shelter that most of us think of shelter when we... It's not, I'm scared, so Krishna, you're my order carrier now, and then you have to come every time I call you, and then after that, see you later. Not that. It's the shelter saying, Krishna, I'm yours. That's Shikshashtakam, last verse, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Aslishyava pataratam pinastumam adarshanam marmahatam karotuva yatha tata va vidato lampato mat prananathastasai vinapara. And I even have the translation here because it's so again powerful. So I want to read it. Excuse me for... I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain so, even if he handles me roughly by his embrace or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord, unconditionally. So it's not based on condition, it's finding that shelter in Krishna. That Krishna, okay, it's your mercy. That's it. So, and that's what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was teaching, and that's what, and Maharaj is emphasizing what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did, what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu demonstrated. It's a time and again proven. This is the way, because is there a better person than the Supreme Personality of Godhead to demonstrate the process for coming back to Him and surrendering unto Him? And that was the purpose for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance. So intentionally, he was doing those two things, Nagar Sankirtan, chanting and reading of Bhagavatam. So that we have to make also as the center of our lives. And the next thing I want to say, this is very, what would you call it? It's about preaching now. It's more than what we have to do. Maharaj is emphasizing a lot these days on Western preaching. Because at first, ISKCON used to be like all white devotees, right? So when Prabhupada came, he sat in Tompkins Square Park, chanted Hare Krishna. So it was all hippies and all white Americans, tall, young, jumping up and down, and it was Kirtan party. So now, after that, Srila Prabhupada disappeared, right? So, and I heard this from Maharaj also, because I wasn't present at that time. And now these people, Western devotees, and they knew that Prabhupada wanted ISKCON to continue. And they've done a great job in making ISKCON continue for 50 years, even after Prabhupada left his body. So, and these Western disciples, they look to Indian people saying, it's your culture and we've imbibed it, so please help us. And all these Indian devotees joined. And then they're working together. And that's what we have as ISKCON now. But what's happening now is now the majority is becoming Indian and the Americans are being left out. And Maharaj was specifically saying on this, I had no idea of this by myself. I'm just saying it like Maharaj is saying it. So please don't see it in my lens here. Please see Maharaj's, I'm just giving you all what Maharaj said. So now it's becoming more Indian. Like when we walk into the temple, and explaining how one person was driving him, Maharaj, to somewhere. And he said, and he was appreciating how we have temples like in central New Jersey and everywhere, and first the Prabhuji just appreciated Madhupati Prabhu, and he said he's doing such a wonderful job. And he said he said that he's like some handyman, so he goes to people's houses and then he sees Indians, they're so bad habits, so he feels that even Indians, he's saying, they being from India, even they're falling into such bad habits, so they're no less than the American people. And Madhupati Prabhu is doing a really nice job grooming them into such nice devotees. But when people like me come to your temple, we don't feel welcome because there's only Indians. So that's why I go to like Brooklyn or other places like that. Right? So that's the problem. That we shouldn't scare people away. We shouldn't make them walk into the temple, be like, oh, this is not for me, plain, bye-bye, walk out without even looking at it. Right? Because when we see, and it's not beautiful that way, that's not what Prabhupada wanted. Prabhupada said, if you do the Americans, the Indians will follow in flocks. Because when Prabhupada came to India with all his white-bodied disciples, everyone was stunned. Like that's it, they were all awestruck, no one could move their eyes. Because and then Prabhupada called dancing white elephants, his disciples. So they all came and attracted the whole show. Because it was inspiring, like wow, they're doing it, right? So majority of the world is American. So we want to make the whole world Krishna conscious, right? We want to fulfill Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's prophecy of just this Sankirtan movement will spread to every town and village. So we have to make sure this is very, 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 very important. So, and there was one program I want to share. Sorry, I was fixing the microphone, which I should have fixed in the beginning. Okay, so Srila Prabhupada, so once he was in London, so he was invited, so that he sent first devotees to London, right? So and then the devotees set up some community there and then got everything ready for Srila Prabhupada to come and speak, got some devotees there, and then Prabhupada came. And Prabhupada came and then he said, where are the devotees? Where's the audience? And they said, they're all there, Srila Prabhupada, pointing to the audience. And Prabhupada said, no, not these people. He said, I didn't come to America, I didn't come to London to preach to non-resident Indians. He said, these are all Indian people. And he said, I want to speak to Londoners. And it's not like Prabhupada didn't speak to them, to the Indians who came, but he's saying, what are you guys doing? You got to make people here, not just acquaintances that we have from India. It's you have to make new people because majority of the world is American. So at one point we have to make American. And
Westerners, not American.
Yeah, not American, sorry. It's Westerners. Because non-Indians also, not ignore Indians, but non-Indians. So Chinese, black, make it diverse. Like it's unity in diversity, what Prabhupada wanted, right? We all have to be one in goal and intention. But we should be very, very, very diverse. Like a flower vase. If we look at a flower vase, they said, look, it looks beautiful even with one color, but it'll look even more attractive if it has many colors and leaves and everything, right? So that's what we need. And that's what we have to do. And we shouldn't and not only shouldn't we avoid other people, non-Indians, but we should go more because that's who the majority are. So I just want all of you to just right now, some of you just to raise your hand and think of places where Americans come more than Indians. So it's not just doing Nagar Sankirtan and Apna Pasar. Even that, start off there. That's good. That's wonderful. Doing it with Indians. And first we have to begin there in small steps. But if you're not doing anything now, don't say, I'm not going to preach to Indians. Preach to Indians. And go for Nagar Sankirtan in Apna Bazaar also. But also go here. In places like, I want you to say right now.
Shop.
Huh? Shop right. Yeah, stop and shop.
Soccer field.
Soccer fields. Costco. Anyone else?
Walmart. Whole Foods.
Yes, malls everywhere. Train stations.
Mall.
Woodbridge Mall.
We have to do it in places where there's general audiences, not just melas, Diwali mela. Right? So that's one thing Maharaj was stressing also. So these things, again now concluding, putting it all together, it's the Srila Prabhupada's books, especially the Srimad Bhagavatam, chanting, that purity has to come from the chanting, finding shelter in Krishna, and Western preaching. And the last thing I want to say is college preaching. Because college is where the potential lies. That's the age. Childish age, they have no independence. I mean, independence as in, like they have even immaturity, right? So when they're still in that level of playing, they're not making decisions for life. But college is the time when they're making conscious decisions for life. So here, they're not preset. They didn't already set their GPS to a way of life. Right? So they didn't make their mind, they didn't put, like we all put ourselves on default mode. Like, you know, when we put the car on cruise, it just goes on one speed. They didn't put themselves on like that yet. So they're still searching. We're all used to doing what we're doing every day, right? Going to job, I'm going to wake up early, go this way, done. But they're still searching. They're looking for new ideas. So this is the age we have to fan that spark. And Prabhupada, it's amazing. Prabhupada made 30 current leaders of ISKCON who are now leading ISKCON, who are now in the GBC positions as ISKCON from one college. So there's lots of potential there. So they're open-minded. They're willing to learn. So we have to do college preaching. And if we don't do it, who else is going to do it? If the devotees don't preach, who's going to do it? Right? So that college preaching has to become very much. So we have to have this general preaching and college preaching in universities. And again, Maharaj was stressing on this a lot because that's where we can groom them. Because you can spend time with them and that's where they'll follow up with you. And then when we groom them, they'll become strong. And in that age, people who are in that age right now will be the ones who will be there till ISKCON 100, right? So those type of people. So we have to make it a conscious endeavor to pray to Krishna first of all. Just first, without taking shelter of Krishna, thinking that we can do something on our own power is just useless waste of time. Because we can't. We're helpless. So we have to pray to Krishna that Krishna, please empower me. Please give me the purity. So we have to have a strong desire to make ourselves strong. So put your life vest on first before fixing it on. So and then say, now I want to help others also. Krishna, please give me that compassion for everyone else. And now it's not just, yeah, I prayed I'm waiting for Krishna's mercy. It's you have to make some endeavor of our own, like Yashodamai. She was trying to tie Krishna. She got and one place, different places say different things, but one of the acharyas said, she got the rope of the entire village to try to bind Krishna. She kept trying. So persistent. And then finally Krishna saw, Mother, wow, so much effort on your side. So and then he gave his mercy. So it has to come from both sides, and Krishna will wait to see the effort from our sides. And not just maybe we are making effort, but maybe more effort. So we have to make continuous effort, conscious effort daily in our lives by in our chanting, praying to Krishna for spiritual strength. Maharaj said this actually, this point, praying to Krishna for spiritual strength, Because that's the person who's going to give us spiritual strength. So we have to pray to Krishna for that strength, so we can help in enduring. It's not going to happen really easily, right? So that purity has to come from chanting. Purity is the force. That's what made Prabhupada do wonders. At the age of 70, coming here, building an organization, it's oh my God, right? And then the next one is the books. We have to daily make it a point, just 5 minutes, 10 minutes, do something. Read Srila Prabhupada's books. Make it a priority, right? In the morning, evening, doesn't matter, do it. And then the next thing, third thing, is preaching. So start. If you're doing nothing, then start by going to Nagar Sankirtan whenever there is a Nagar Sankirtan. Like, stay in touch with Jai Prakash Prabhu so wonderfully. He does every single 2 weeks. Twice in a month. He always, Nagar Sankirtan, no matter who's there or not. He invites devotees, and some come, some don't, most don't. And he's usually the only one standing there and doing a Nagar Sankirtan, right? So join him. And then after that, when a group of devotees set up together like this, then we'll have many devotees doing it. So we can split up, and a few devotees can go in different places and do it. So this way there's more going on. So we have to expand like that. So, and Maharaj is not telling us this for his selfish reason or just for the good of ISKCON. It's for the good of everyone, the entire world. That's what Krishna wants to do. He wants to reclaim all his children, right? So let's all pray, and let's all try to become instruments, insignificant instruments, to help ISKCON expand and endure and fulfill the intentions of Guru Maharaj, all the Maharajas that we have now, Srila Prabhupada, and all our Acharyas. So thank you very much for tolerating me all this time. Please forgive me for being very cutthroat. And please also I'm thanking you for tolerating me all this time, actually, because all of you are so, exalted devotees in front of me, but you're still considering me qualified to share something that I realized with you all. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hrsta. So, thank you for all the reflections what we had to have from Guru Maharaj's instructions, so that we can imbibe whatever percentage what we hear, how much we digest, how much we imbibe into ourselves. We'll see.